Alright, so now we're on to difficulty 2 problem number 4. And this is going to use the exact same method that we've used in the previous several problems. And that would be the substitution method. So notice here that we have as the first term, we have x, and then in the second term, we have 6 square root of x. The square root has half the power of our first term. So this is essentially a quadratic form after we do an appropriate substitution. So what is our substitution going to be in this case? It's going to be y is equal to square root of x. And we notice that this substitution, if we look at x here, is going to be square root of x squared. This would technically be absolute value, but we're going to disregard that for the time being. So now we want to rewrite this using our substitution. So every place we see square root of x, we're going to replace it with y. So rewriting our expression, we have x plus 6 square root of x plus 9. And we note that that's the same thing as square root of x quantity squared, just in the first term here, plus 6 square root of x plus 9. Okay, so now since I was able to rewrite this first term as square root of x squared, I can substitute in this y is equal to y is equal to square root of x. So this gives us y squared plus 6y plus 9. And now, as you can see, we have a full quadratic expression here. And now we want to factor this using the same method that we did in the difficulty 1 problems. So we need two numbers that add to 6 that multiply to 9. And your best bet, as always, is to look at the factors of 9 and see if we can figure out two of them that add up to 6. So in this case, we have 3 and 3 because 9 is a perfect square, so that seems to be a good candidate. If I multiply those together, I get 9. And if I add them, I also get 6. So this is nice. And based on that, we can factor this as follows. Y plus 3 times y plus 3. Or if you like, you can rewrite this as y plus 3 squared. Okay. Now remember, we wanted to factor this expression, which had x's in it. So we need to resubstitute our square root of x here for this y. So what does that give us? That gives us square root of x plus 3 quantity squared. Now at this point, we're done. All we did was replace our y's with square root of x's, and now we have a fully factorized version of this thing. While this is not a polynomial, it's okay, because we're still able to factor it nonetheless. You'll see problems like this in calculus, Calc 2, and which would require you to factor things that aren't exactly the usual quadratic, but they still have a quadratic form. So substitution is a powerful technique for helping solve some of these types of problems. And with that, we are done.